Yo, what the fuck is up? It's your boy, You're Not Mother. I just realized something.
Oh, he says the F word too much.
In this day and age on the internet, for every one adult, there's 50 young children out there, and I really need to clean up my act. So in this video, every time I even think about saying the F word, or maybe even any other swears that might be a little bit too raunchy for the internet, I'm gonna edit it out and replace it with a happy word, like fudge, or sassy phrases. So let's retry that. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy, You're Not Mother Frolicking, Justin, coming at you with another happy story video. Also, before we get going here, I'm actually working on a gameplay video, like some sort of gameplay that I can put out for you guys, so that way it's not just stories like it always is. And you gotta understand that, like, I'm not gonna be like John Cena or your typical, oh, I'm gonna play a video game and, like, commentate and I'm gonna pretend to be super duper into it. The reality is that if I genuinely wanted to put out like a gameplay video like other people who make videos on this game, I easily could. You know, it's a matter of I pretend to be happy, I do some sort of weird gimmick that's been done like 30 times before, and you know, that's the whole video and people eat it up. But I'm trying to work on something that, like, I enjoy. And to be completely honest, I don't enjoy being like a super tryhard on video games. It's just not fun. I would rather be incredibly casual and do stupid things that I enjoy. Not gonna go super deep into this, but for example, my most popular videos like the Thompson video, the gambling video on my channel, the Eddie's video, there's a reason why I don't always make videos like that, or why I just can't always make videos like that, and that's because that's just me. That's me casually playing how I play the game. That's just like an everyday thing for me. And those are one-of-a-kind moments that are so genuine because I'm not trying to pretend for anybody, I'm just being myself, so I can't always make stuff like that happen. The video that I put out, if it even goes up on this channel, it might not be super conventional, it might not be something like you're used to from watching in the past, but it'll definitely be something. It'll be something that people just don't post because they like to look good in their videos as opposed to being real with people, and it'll be something that, like, if you're a casual player, you'll be like, wow, that's so relatable. In the last adventure that I let you guys in on, I was telling you stories about where I used to work at, and I used to do security at a casino. It was real fun stuff, and I told you a story about this guy and like a balloon. It was interesting. I promised you a story with lots of action, lots of trashy sugar that happens inside of it, and this is that video. Our story begins with your boy, the UNJ. He's working security, and this is actually pretty recently now that I think about it. I'm telling it as if it wasn't like a few months ago, but this story like literally took place like a few months ago. But at the casino that I did security at, I was literally the man. They went to me for flossing, everything. I was reliable. They would call me in a lot because I was willing to come in. I got the job done to my best of abilities. I was pretty much John Cena in a security jacket. My weekly schedule is that I would work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then I would usually get called in like 2 times, like prior to that as well. It wouldn't be a video without a fluffy dog barking up a storm outside while I'm trying to make it. Don't worry, it appears to have given up on the barking. But yeah, I worked a lot and they really depended on me to show up and to do my job. And it's because I set such a high standard for myself, like working there. I don't know why I always do this, but as opposed to giving myself an image of, wow, I can depend on him like almost all the time, I gave them the image that, wow, I have to depend on this person at all costs because if I don't depend on him, I can't depend on anybody else. It pretty much turned me into the go-to guy because I was only friendly and one who liked to do their job. And what made this even worse and what made it even harder on me personally is the fact that I worked the 3 busiest days of the entire week, and it's a really huge contrast. Thursday, Friday, Saturday are like 100 times busier than Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, for instance, it's not like there's gonna be 20 less people or something like that. It's literally empty. You show up and you do absolutely nothing, and that's like the job. Meanwhile, me working Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I have to deal with so much shit. I have to deal with drunk people breaking the rules and stuff like that, and it's just a mess. Literally hundreds of people. Hundreds, in the hundreds section. And we also had a tally sheet where we would keep track of how much people were in the room or just the building in general. And the days that I worked are always so much busier than the days that everybody else worked. I'm getting like way off topic right now. None of the stuff that I'm even saying is even the big picture, so I'm just gonna get it out of there already. Tell the story, Justin. Come on. What are you doing? It's the busiest day of the entire work week for us on a Saturday. Since it's the weekend, the casino is packed as full as it gets. And since it's a Saturday, there's no kids that have to be at school or anything like that. And since I live in such a silly small town, there's nothing to do except for on the weekends, we have at the bowling alley at the casino that I worked at, there was like this fancy laser light show bowling thing that you would do. I'm not a big fan of bowling, but you would go there, they'd play music, there'd be like laser lights and stuff, and it was like interesting. I can only imagine people who live in places where there's actually anything to do, they're probably sitting in their seats right now going like, wow, why would anybody want to do that? And the answer is because there's literally nothing else to do in this town. But yeah, it's a busy Saturday, we are packed, and on the weekends, there's supposed to be 4 security guards at work, 2 for upstairs because of how busy it is, and 2 for downstairs because of how busy it is. And you would never guess, Mr. Perfect over here, I show up every single night on time, like, you know, 5-10 minutes early just so I can be there and show out for everybody. My coworker, he shows up, my good old friend Kenny, and then we have somebody who didn't plan on being there, so we were going to be short a guy, so it was supposed to be 3 of us there. And then number 3, the stupidest person I've ever met in my entire life. Not going to give his name away, but he no-called, no-showed. He just found it unnecessary. And boy, did he choose like the busiest night ever to just find it necessary to not show up to work at all. This guy that I'm talking about right now, he might even get his own video because of just how ridiculous he was, but we'll save it for the next series of security job work videos that I tell. So it's just me and it's just Kenny, and it is our job to keep the entire facility secure, making sure that we're following state regulations and not breaking the law or anything like that. And it is just a wreck. It is so busy in there, it is scary. But thankfully enough, we're actually making it work. We had this plan, it was my plan to begin with, because we were initially gonna be like, oh, we should ask somebody else who works there if they can switch shifts and they can come in and be our extra security person, so that way it's easier on us. And then that's when I chimed in and I was like, how's about this? You stay up here, I'll stay down here, and if you need me to come up there, I will come up there, and if I need you to come down here, I'll radio to come down here. And it actually wasn't going that bad. It was incredibly busy downstairs, and just so I can really explain this to you, there's like lots of really specific liquor laws that you have to abide by when you own a bar, like we did in the casino and stuff like that, next to the diner and in the bowling alley as well. And you have to do all this petty stuff to make sure that everybody is following the rules that we have to have people follow, because it could get our liquor license taken away and make it so we can't sell alcohol at all. So this night in particular, everybody's on their worst behavior, breaking all sorts of rules, making me get on them, and I was getting on them. I was like, hey, you can't do that. I'm babysitting you right now, and it's against the rules, young man. Everything's going upstairs on Kenny's end. I'm consistently radioing him, being like, hey, you good up there? Hey, man, you hanging in there? And he's like, yep, hanging in there. And that was until the dollar store Jersey Shore came in. Now, I don't know how much of you people out there actually know who the Jersey Shore is, or if you ever watched the show, but it's essentially the trashiest human fairy beings that there is on Earth. And this version of the Jersey Shore that came in was the one that was on the discount section at the dollar store. Very poorly put together, very cheap, very sleazy, not quite the thing you want to have in your life. It's explicitly against the law to bring in alcohol to another bar. So let's say you go to the grocery store and you buy beer or something. You can't bring that beer into a bar or somewhere that serves alcohol, because that's not how it works. It's against the law, and it's just how it is and how it always will be. These people, right off the bat, they brought in beer. They brought it in from an outside source. I don't know where they got it from, but they brought it in. It was a red flag for me right away, and I was getting ready to send them home, say, all right, you guys had one chance and you blew it. You gotta go. And since I worked at the stupidest place ever, I had to tell my shift manager first before I made any kind of moves. And of course, my shift manager goes over and says, oh, well, how's about this? We'll just take the beer from them, we'll keep it to the end of the night, and then we'll give it to their designated driver and they can leave. See? No hard feelings, no harm, no foul, haha. But you see, she was wrong. She was very wrong. And God forbid I have any stance on anything. I'm just allowed to do things that I think are correct. I have to leave it to somebody else's opinion. That beer that they came in with, I'm sure that they were drinking it beforehand, because they came in and they were already incredibly drunk. And I was just like, oh, I bet you $1 million there's going to be a problem with them tonight. And lo and behold, no more than an hour passes by. They're drinking beer that we don't even sell at the place, that they brought from home or wherever. And at that point, I have the go-ahead to tell them to leave. And at that point, I knew, all right, here's where the problem happens. So I radio up to Big Kenny, and Kenny's a big, scary guy. He's got more tattoos than I have, and I have a lot. He's huge, he's bald, he's really spooky looking. And I radio him to come down, and he comes down, and we both start walking over there. And like, as soon as like we're even like, you know, 5 feet close to them, they immediately start yelling at us and being like, well, why are you kicking us out, huh? What are you doing? We didn't fucking do anything. Isn't it just really ironic that we didn't even say anything yet, and that they were already assuming that they were getting kicked out? So I feel like that's just like, oh, I did do something. I'm just going to be a big fat pussy about it. I'm going to act like a child. I really wanted Kenny to handle this because Kenny looks a lot scarier than I look. And they weren't going to take my word seriously because of how drunk they were. So I needed like the scariest imaginable person to go and give them the word. And Kenny's there. He's like explaining it incredibly calm, being incredibly polite. He's like, all right, you guys broke our rules and I'm sorry, but you're going to have to go. Literally being the most polite gentleman imaginable. Because in situations like that, it's really important to not escalate it. And just because they were drunk, they found a way to escalate it anyways. And that's when one of these no good, dirty ass, cake face having bitches stands on one of the chairs, and this is in front of everybody, by the way, saying all this shit about how she's not gonna leave, how she's gonna sue us and stuff like that. But, you know, it's funny because last time I checked, stupid ass with no money can't sue anybody. And in the midst of all this, Kenny is literally keeping so calm and so collected, and I'm just there like I'm ticking like a time bomb. Like I'm just like, oh my god, if this stupid woman doesn't shut up, I swear to god I'm gonna grab her by the face and throw her out. At this point, she looks over at her stupid friends that she came with, and she says, are you just gonna let them talk to us like that and kick us out? And these two incredibly drunk, really weak, really stupid Jersey Shore wannabes come over, and they get in Kenny's face. And they're literally yelling at him, and Kenny's just standing there being as calm as he possibly can be because he's a smart guy. He knows how to handle situations, and he was just being like, all right, I understand why you're upset, but you gotta go. It's just the rules. It's, you know, we don't have to take it anywhere past this. And then, at this point, one of these guys, he walks up to him even closer, and he pushes him, and then I step between them, and I push him back, and I say, hey, you do not put your hands on him. And I've had enough of this shit. You guys all gotta go. I've had enough. This is bullshit, and I'm not dealing with it. Get the out of here. I'm calling the police. And it was funny, too, because as soon as I did all that and said all that, one of the guys came over to me and was like, yeah, I'm sorry about doing that, man. I really am. And, like, it was just really weird because Kenny is the scary-looking one. And it was really weird that they were getting really, like, angry at him. But then when it came to me, he was like, oh, man, he got us. Our plans have been foiled. And honestly, that was a mistake on my part because it easily could have escalated it into something way worse. But they had one more fit of rage before they got on their way. And here's the quote. This is the quote of the year for me. This guy yells, well, you know what? I'm keeping the fucking bowling shoes. And literally in that super tense and serious moment, I almost like started to cry because of how fucking ridiculous and silly that was that anybody on this planet would say that. It was the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And it was the first, like, real-life meme I've ever experienced. Like, I had to turn around so that way I could get a little bit of the giggles out because of how silly it was that he would say that. So him, his ugly girlfriend, and his friends, they all started walking out. And keep in mind, these are grown adults. They're, like, 37 years old, and they pull out their vapes. You're not allowed to vape indoors at the place that I worked at. And they all started vaping, and it was the edgiest thing I ever saw. Nothing says I'm a big, strong adult like smoking a Prius cigarette. And they left, and then like 5 minutes later, the stupid girl came back in, and she went to my shift manager and said, I'd like to know the names of your security guards. And I was standing right next to her, and I was like, hey, my name's Justin. You want to leave a note? I'll write down a note for you if you want. And she's like, yeah, don't worry, I'm going to write a note. I'm talking to your shift manager right now, Justin. And I was like, okay, that's real cute, ma'am. You go ahead and do that. And, you know, don't worry, nothing happened. I wasn't talked to or anything like that because she's an idiot. And she couldn't make anything happen to me even if she wanted to. And I'd say that at this point, I pretty much came out on top. But that was just a typical night of Saturday security. I'm cutting the video a little bit long right now, whatever, but we'll get into the morals. We'll take the little bit of extra time to really do that. The biggest lesson that we learned is that if you want to look like a complete pussy, then you should buy a vape. Nobody looks smart while vaping. So if you want to look like an idiot, you should also buy a vape. It's the best thing to do. This kind of just popped into my head, and this is really deep. This is the deep part of the video that we're all waiting for. We got to the meme part where you can keep the bowling shoes. That's going to be the best meme ever, hopefully. Go ahead and leave a comment themed like that down below, and it'll make me really happy. I've always felt this way, but it's hard to really comprehend how it feels in the moment, but everything passes. So if you're in school right now and school just seems really bad, in a few years you're going to think to yourself, wow, that was such a long time ago. Or even like you're working a bad job right now, literally everything passes. Bullies pass, bad people pass, living in a bad town, that even passes too. Like right now I'm still stuck in my town, but I have hope that it's going to pass eventually. That's the life lesson. That's the moral of the whole story, I think. As always, I'm Justin, and you're mother Frenching not. Be sure to leave a like on the video, leave some funny memes about bowling shoes, leave your stories, because the next video is going to be a viewer story video. And just thank you so much for all the support, for Sin, for me, and everything. You guys are literally awesome. Click on the screen for some videos that you might have missed that you need to watch because they're awesome. And I'll see you in the next video.